So, my name's Andrew Essa. I'm the CEO and founder of an events company called the Social Experiences Club. So today what I want to do is probably take it down a notch from the previous talk and go into something a bit more kind of tangible or practical in the sense of kind of specific, kind of day in, day out case study kind of issues around running a startup. So if you're pre-launch, if you're probably maybe 2 years in, that's probably about the right sort of target for this particular talk. Just on that, are people in that kind of zone, or people maybe even thinking about sort of jumping ship? So we've got two people here. Are most people working in corporate, slogging away and maybe looking for some inspiration to jump ship one day, or is that probably a lot of people? Okay, we've got one person. But I mean, to be honest, customer stickiness, we'll go through this in a sec, but if you're in a big agency or a big brand, this is a constant challenge and battle for big brands out there, whether Apple or Red Bull or Amazon. But you don't have to have a multi-million pound budget to do this on a shoestring. So my company's 2 years old. I was pretty, in hindsight, I was pretty mad to jump ship from a management consulting career. Before that I was a lawyer, and before that I did a bit of lecturing. So I've kind of, over the last 12 years I've had a bit of a mix of experiences, and the last 2 to 2.5 years I've been in the battlefield, slogging it out, growing up a corporate events business. So today, customer stickiness. So I guess the first question is what actually is it? And I had actually a good little chat with Sanderson actually before, about half an hour ago, about Sanderson said, hey, what is stickiness? And we sort of joked about it's us sticking toffee and honey on us and just grabbing a customer and going, right, stay with me. I want you. You're not going anywhere. No matter who the hell the customer was, not knowing their needs, not knowing their wants, and not knowing what actually it is that you're going to offer them and provide some value. So the stuff up there is pretty much a good kind of range of sort of ideas. I think stickiness is one of those terms that it means different things to different people. But I think the broad sort of common thread is, you just need to gain trust from a customer and make it really hard for them to, make a different sort of purchase decision. So for me, that's kind of what my job is. Every day it's trying to make my customers more and more sticky. And that's a ridiculously hard thing to do, because obviously there's sleepless nights about cash flow. You've got staff who are tricky, you've got clients who are tough, and you're in the sort of the battlefield that is startups. So for today, I sort of want to give a bit of a kind of context as to how to navigate the stickiness of customers and get a better perspective as to how you can actually learn from some of the experiences that I'm going through and maybe sort of put them into practice into your day jobs. So obviously, probably one of the most famous companies that is brilliant at stickiness, or at least in the last sort of 15 years, is Apple. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely am lost without my phone, my Apple iPhone. If it's the operating system the other day is playing up, and it was just a shambles. Couldn't open apps, couldn't check emails. It was a bit of a shambles. But that's probably the only problem I've ever had from Apple. But these guys, and in particular Red Bull. Red Bull's not for everyone. But I sort of have to sort of stop. I don't drink coffee, I don't smoke, but getting stuck into Red Bull probably 1 or 2 times a day is probably my worst habit at the moment. I don't think I'm addicted to Red Bull, but which is probably famous last words about anyone who's got a fitting habit. But and I don't think I'm necessarily going to jump off mountains and go hang gliding and get into extreme sports and that sort of stuff. But for me, I really buy into their brand, and that's me. And the whole thing about stickiness is that you don't have to please everyone. All right, you don't have to sort of please the market. If you can find that kind of that customer that really kind of like values what you offer, and make it awesome for them, that's all that matters. And of course, do people know who this is? Yeah. So I mean, most of us obviously have used Amazon, and we use it a lot. So for me, these guys make my life so easy. And hence, I'm just constantly going back for more and more. Wherever they're trying to flog me, whether it be Prime or movies or music, I'm sort of definitely making a decision whether or not to say abandon Spotify or whatever Apple sort of products. I'm always constantly thinking, should I actually go with these guys, because these guys are awesome in the kind of stuff that they do. So I guess what is it about these big companies that are doing really cool stuff, and how have I, as a startup owner, slogging away in the trenches, able to kind of use some of the kind of great things that they're doing to make my customers, well, first of all, to identify what my customers are wanting, and actually to keep them coming back for more and more and more. So actually, I came up with 7 things, and I think some of these sort of topics have been touched on by sort of previous speakers actually, so it's actually sort of tying in quite nicely. But for me, the 7 things are up there, and I'll take each one and sort of dive into it in a bit more detail. But actually, the second thing this is going a bit crazy actually. That wasn't supposed to happen. So this is supposed to be a nice slide where it just simply had the rankings on the right, but something's happened. But I'll crack on. But what I did when preparing the talk, I actually looked at these 7 things and sort of thought, okay, how is our company doing against that particular criteria? My overall score was probably about 6.5 out of 10, because the context is we've got a corporate events business. We're unfunded, and I'm the single owner. I've got a team of 5 people. So we definitely are going after a market which is typically internal events. So we basically help companies become even better is our mission. And for us, it's very, very tough, because in the industry, it's low-hanging fruit. So all the big companies that are out there that do the kind of hotels and meetings for thousands of people, for big companies, they don't, for them, the low-hanging fruit is actually internal events. The reason is because, most companies can actually probably do it themselves. There are actually dedicated event managers to do this stuff. So you have to be really, really, really different, and to probably be really, really mad at the same time, to go after that low-hanging fruit. So here are the kind of key things that I think we're sort of doing. But as I said, 6.5 out of 10 when I end up scoring ourselves on it, and I'll take you through those as we go through the different sort of sections. I mean, this is kind of a key thing just as an overall point. It's constantly iterative. The process of actually identifying what is actually we've got that our customers really, really want. Why should a customer come to us and not, to the big boys or girls in the industry? Why are we the ones that they should, go to? And then actually, when they do go to us, why should they keep coming back? What can we do on a shoestring that can actually make their lives, so much better? So it's constantly iterative, and these sort of things will come out as we go through the criteria. So the context of the criteria is that, so these are things that I've come up with. These are things that are sort of business sort of tips that are from different sort of books that are out there. And the first one is why. And have many people read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why? So there's a couple of people. So if you haven't read it, definitely get involved. It really sums it up as to why these big companies and why actually and how startups can actually take advantage of going after and identifying customer and making them come back. So for us, the context basically is customers don't want to know what you can do and how you can do it. I think they really want to know, why are you actually doing what you're doing? Why should they actually invest their time and money and effort into jumping in with you versus some of the other kind of big people out there in the industry? So for us, it's definitely about making customers' lives better. And for us, our customers are companies. We want to make companies better places to be. We want to make them more fun, more interesting, more engaging. We want staff to be more motivated. So these are kind of goals that like senior management have, and these are sort of ideals that those sorts of buyers can identify with when we're pitching. So this one here is summing up probably something that another book that is definitely worth a read by Seth Godin, Purple Cow. People checked out Purple Cow before? So so definitely. I mean, we're again battling against the big boys and girls in the industry. So we really want to stand out as much as we can, and we don't have a lot of investment and budget behind us. So the way we can do this is for us personally, we provide the most ridiculously awesome customer service that we can provide, even to the point where it's potentially unprofitable. So, that's kind of at odds with why do we have a company in the first place? You have a company because, you can make some money and get some customers and, pay some, good people and give them a salary and give, yourself an avenue to make money. But, that doesn't often resonate with customers. Customers have been bombarded with messages all over the place. It's really easy to start up a company these days, particularly tech companies. You can, create a landing page, create a website. It's very, very easy and cheap to launch a business these days. So the way to really sort of differentiate is almost, look at the kind of the market and almost do, something very, 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 very different. So for us, on the service side, we've had customers who, we've stuffed up potentially on an event. Say 10 customers are hungry. So what are we going to do about it? And there's one example in Hyde Park recently where 10 customers were left sort of stranded with some food. So we basically got one of the team to go. It was like a 10-minute walk or run, buy up a stack of Byron burgers, and bring them back to the customer. Now, that was something that we solved straight away on the spot. It wasn't actually our error; it was actually the error of the venue. But from the customer's perspective, doing those sorts of things, not going back and forth with why this, why that, just solving that problem on the spot. We've even had, as of last week, we've had caterers who a week before the event have said, "Sorry, we can't do the event anymore." A week before the event. So we've had to go and, give flowers and chocolates and, literally bloody beg the caterer to make sure that they can change their mind and actually, deliver the event. Because obviously ringing up the customer and saying, "Look, actually we've got some issues here." They don't want to hear that. They want to know that, the reason that they engaged you was that you were going to absolutely just, solve their problems and make their lives easier. So for us, doing on the service side, we've just chosen that particular area to be as different and as interesting and as powerful as possible on that service front. Down to invoicing. If there's extra stuff to invoice a client, just waive it. Just say, "Hey, no problems." And actually even photography as well for what we do. Every client loves having photos after the event, but they don't want to pay for the photographer. So we just say we'll give that to you for free. So it's kind of just finding different ways to bundle your service and maybe provide some of that stuff for free. Even actually, organising entire events, sometimes we do that for free for clients. So, being flexible and being adaptable and being really kind of tailoring your service is definitely something we've been able to do and been able to, get that customer coming back for more and more. So simplicity, this is probably a famous quote from Steve Jobs. It's really hard. I mean, it is absolutely spot on, absolutely spot on. It's so easy. I mean, when we started with one particular product idea. That was our way of sort of standing out in the marketplace. It was that particular idea was, and this is why, in hindsight, I even wonder what I was doing in terms of being crazy to jump off from my previous career. But we identified a gap in the market for really interesting ideas for companies to do. One of those ideas was ping pong tournaments, and this is before the Bounce Ping Pong Club in London opened, we thought, hey, this would be an awesome sort of idea and experience to offer up to companies. And you know what? It actually was. We sold 200 corporate ping pong experiences with DJs and equipment and headbands and staff and really interesting venues where these sorts of clients typically go to anyway. So 200 of these experiences later, we thought, okay, we're probably onto something here. The problem was, is that those clients said, what else have you got? What else have you got? What else have you got? So 2.5 years later, we've probably got about 60 other similar sorts of really interesting experiences along similar lines, but completely different offerings. So we've got this whole offering portfolio of 60 products. So for a young company, it's a lot of complexity. And it's a big challenge in terms of being efficient and providing that sort of service day to day. So for us, in terms of thinking about how do we keep our customers really sticky, part of that is actually simplifying. So we actually, like Apple did, I think when Steve Jobs came back in for the second time in the late 90s, where he just completely cut through the whole portfolio to focus on a couple of core products down from shitloads. We're kind of going to be doing the same thing. So when we started with the one product, and then 2.5 years later we've gone to the 60, because customers were saying, what else you got, what else you got? We're going to go narrow things right back down and focus maybe on 5 key things, or maybe 5 is probably too many. So that complexity is a big problem for ensuring that your customers are, really kind of being clear as to what you're offering and what the values are and what value that you're actually providing. It's really tough to do that if you're offering so many things, because if you're trying to please everyone, you end up pleasing probably no one. All right, so that's something that's it's a really critical thing to do, and it's very hard. So this probably sums up about a customer's life being really easy, and it's been touched on in the last talk about really find out how you can actually make the lives of your customers really easy. And a lot of these points do overlap. So the being remarkable point in terms of the service, but ultimately if you don't really know who your target market is, and for us it's easy to say, okay, so people who book events, but within that the buying is so fragmented. The people who buy events are very senior directors all the way through to PAs, through to office managers, through to actual event managers, through to lawyers, through to bankers, through to accountants. Anyone can actually book our stuff. So that's actually a bit of a problem for us to understand all those different needs and wants and what they actually sort of value, because that differs sort of role by role. And of course then company by company. The key thing is definitely the pain points side, links to that. So, the pain points of all these, different sort of buyers, if we don't know what those pain points are, it's going to be very hard for us to tailor our proposition and tailor what we want to sell and to deliver that, and actually then get them to come back for more and more. So hence, with links to the complexity thing, if we simplify kind of our offering, I think that's going to make a big difference for us. The final point on the life easier thing is, it's very easy these days to set up a blog and to share content and to share insight and to share knowledge. This is the sort of stuff that a lot of the big other companies just don't really probably get into, or if they do, it's probably not as interesting or fresh or regular. So we, everything from, we've got, interesting blogs about, new venues that have opened or new kind of experiences or what we found in our newsletters actually, which go out every 6 weeks is, the most clicked on stuff is probably stuff that's completely unrelated to the actual stuff that you're actually selling. It's stuff that actually makes their life or their day a little bit more interesting. It might be, top 25 things to do before you die. It might be, really random kind of articles, 10 most luxury tree houses or, crazy sort of random ideas that actually has nothing to do with what you're selling, but actually goes back to the, the why issue. The terms of, we make, help make companies much better and the lives of our sort of clients much more easier and more fun. That links to our sort of fresh sort of brand and approach, these sorts of random articles. So it's a bit of a kind of learning point there. Those sorts of articles are the kind of things that our clients are, really sort of enjoying. And of course, then you flip around, instead of pushing all the new products that you've got, you flip that around and make that sort of the minor points. So the second final point is there's no way you're going to get sticky customers unless you've got the right people on board. We've definitely, when you're a startup, you definitely make hires of probably people that you probably wouldn't hire actually if you had funding behind you. So you make trade-offs. Maybe they've got a sort of messy CV, they've been jumping around, but they've got maybe the enthusiasm that you sort of want. So it's very, very hard to make the right hires. But with the hires that we've made, definitely there's been some mistakes in terms of when there's been a service issue, when the feedback's come from a client, and you sort of keeping that person on a little bit longer than you probably should have. In hindsight, definitely probably nip that in the bud, probably very, very quickly. Because after a while, that sort of person tends to sort of, spread the sort of negativity, I guess you could say, or just the lack of buying into the mission of what you're trying to achieve, and which is not sort of good. The customers can definitely sort of get that. Links to all this sort of stuff. You have to integrate, your customer facing side of things into everything from the performance side, your objectives, all the way through to rewards, linking bonuses to the feedback that comes in the post-event surveys or just surveys that you do to your customers, linking everything, So it's a very, very key thing to link into your culture because, ultimately that is why customers will come to you, because you've got a different type of culture versus other people out there. That's something that's really unique to what you're offering. Finally, this is actually a photo from one of the events that we put on. I think this might be Google. I think these two people aren't in the room, are they? No. Thank God. This point is about the community side of things. Again, how do you get customers to be really sticky and to keep coming back? Well, you actually get to know them. You actually get to build not just an online community, which is actually very, very hard, but an offline community, which also is hard. In terms of what Lawrence is doing here today, that's a great example of, building a community. So that, he's done brilliantly well, running a design agency and then having this. Also in terms of spreading the word and the mission that he's trying to achieve and getting people to connect and to talk, so doing that, no matter what business that you're in, doing these sorts of things, whether it be the event side of things or putting on speakers, it doesn't have to be to this scale. I certainly know that, I know Lawrence and I know ourselves, we've done events for, with having one speaker and 20 people in a kind of interesting venue in Shoreditch. You don't need to have or kind of risk and go too crazy. I'd say start really, really small and start with a really targeted set of customers that you really want to get to know. Even if it's 10 people, just do something really interesting on a regular basis that might interest them, because that community side of things is definitely quite critical, and it's definitely another way to put a personal face to what you're selling and what you're doing. yeah, community is a key thing. So finally, gains is an obvious one, but it's very hard to execute. So evaluate, measure, everything you're doing. It's, there's so many tools out there these days, for the analytics or, SurveyMonkey. It's one thing to actually do it, but then to actually do something with the data, that's the hard part. Even ourselves, we've got all the tools set up, we do the stuff, but actually it is very, very hard to actually sit back and to look at the stuff, on a kind of a weekly basis, quarterly basis. But then if your culture does incorporate, weekly reviews, that link to the feedback that, different, projects have given, then, that makes it easier to do that. So that's why it's really important to integrate all these sorts of things. Because ultimately, if you don't know what your customers are saying, then there's no point. But the key thing is definitely to integrate this stuff into the culture of your company.